Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. Uh, my voice is a little wonky, so I apologize in advance. It's not intentional. Not that you want to hear my voice to begin with, but that's a different story. Um, a fun topic, or at least what I would deem to be a fun topic, has kind of shook the industry, specifically the video game industry, and it's this unusual style of screening, uh, well, developers, I guess, would be the easier way to do it. Um, and because of this unusual shakeup, uh, I could have a good laugh. um, it's I don't say unnatural. It shouldn't be unnatural. It should be the most common thing in the world. But it's a very strange position in the modern times to take as a development studio. So let's jump into it, shall we? Palworld developer Pocketpair reveals unusual hiring requirements for its game designers. It wants true Steam players. We basically turn down those who have played 0 Steam games. It's coming from IGN. Palworld developer Pocketpair has an interesting way of screening job candidates. The Japanese game studio requires those applying for game designer positions to submit screenshots of their Steam libraries as part of the hiring process. Now, if I was useful in any of the areas they needed, I would probably get a job because I have a lot of games, I have a lot of hours into a lot of games. My Guild Wars 2 gameplay is slowly encroaching upon 5,000 hours alone just from that, but it's not Steam specifically. Unless I paid like 20, 30 bucks, got Guild Wars 2 through Steam, and then, here's my hours. Excuse me. But I don't know if that would count since Steam hours would be different than the game hours. But regardless, I have a lot of gaming time. Doesn't mean I'm necessarily the best person for the job. But off of that alone, I would potentially be, seen as some form of a candidate for any of them. But I'm sure there's plenty of people out there with way more hours than me. So I don't know if it's based upon how many hours or if it's hours on a particular game. But we'll see if they bring that up. In a recent tweet on X, Twitter, CEO Takuro Mizobe shed some light on how Pocketpair hires new game designer talent. Mizobe explained that Pocketpair has prospective game designers submit screenshots of their Steam play history. Furthermore, Mizobe noted that the applicants who don't use Valve's game platform don't get considered for interviews. Those who haven't played anything on Steam don't pass the document screening stage. There's a reason why Pocketpair wants to see what their job applicants are playing, though. As Mizobe explained, in the interview, we questioned candidates about the top most played titles in their Steam libraries. For example, we asked them to explain the game mechanics, to say why they think specific mechanics were adopted, and what makes the game stand out against others in the same genre. I mean, I'm pretty critical about a lot of games, mostly because from my mindset, it could have been done better, and it most of the time isn't. There are a few really good games that just completely blew me away. But the average game and the average, I don't know, development teams probably do what's safe or easy rather than trying to innovate and do something better where the gamers would probably appreciate it a little bit more. It'd also make it more challenging for people. Pocketpair is recruiting game creators who are true Steam players. And you can see Palworld's trailer. In a follow-up post, Mitobe said that while applicants who are prolific console players are also encouraged to submit their Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo Switch play data, Steam is still the priority. We basically turn down those who have played 0 Steam games, he explained. We want our colleagues to be playing indie games that are only available on Steam. Which does make sense because from the grand perspective of everything, Palworld is more or less an indie game. And despite its success and whatnot, it still counts as that. So, all things considered, it's a better idea for it to be looked at as more on the nose, so to speak. So it's going to be what you'd expect. This makes sense considering Pocketpair's background as an indie developer whose main distribution platform so far has been Steam. The developer's biggest hit, Palworld, as well as its previous game, Craftopia, have their main player base on Valve's platform. I would argue the best platform to be on is Steam, because pretty much everybody has a computer. Not everybody has a console, but a lot of consoles are out there, and there's like tens of millions of them out and about. But there's hundreds, well, probably billions of computers in circulation. So Steam gives you the broader audience if that's what you're looking for. Just because there's an audience on like PC is the same thing as just there's an audience on console. It doesn't mean everyone's going to buy your game. If you sell 30 million Switch 2s in the first month, it doesn't mean you have 30 million people buying 30 million of every single game you release. It means that there's a portion of that are wanting to buy a game. That's it. I mean, they're not buying a system if they're not buying a game. So it makes sense for them to be like, well, this was our main release on Steam, and they want to add it. I believe it was on Xbox. I know it was on PlayStation 5, but I believe it was on Xbox as well. But it obviously wasn't on Nintendo's platform because of the lawsuit. And I don't know, even if they win the lawsuit, I don't know if they'll be able to release it on Nintendo. I don't know if it would run very well on the Switch 2, just because when you play it like on a PC, I'd presume a console because I don't have it for console. It's a massive world. It's a massive world, and it gives you a very broad stroke of field of vision from like one side of the map to the other side of the map. Pokemon can't even do that. So, I mean, that's not a surprise. Pokemon's been about as lazy as possible with making stuff because it has Pokemon on the title, therefore people would be mindless and buy it. That's pretty much true. But when it comes to Palworld, it's legitimately like you can see Liftmonk effigies in the dark miles and miles away. It's not something that it's as limited, we'll say, as Pokemon. You can see pals all over the place, where in Pokemon you can barely see them 10 feet in front of you. So I don't think Switch would be a very good place for Palworld regardless. And you can play Palworld single player, but if they removed the Xbox and PlayStation multiplayer paywall, it would definitely sell a lot more probably, because a lot of people will be like, oh, this is fun, but they don't play with anybody because they're on console. Well, PC, you don't have that paywall, so you can bypass everything, and it's going to have more play because of it. Doesn't mean it won't sell on there. It just means it's going to always sell better on Steam. Like, Steam has way more game options available to you. Some of them are slop, some of them are fantastic, some of them are AAA trash, but it is what it is. In the post-social media, Pocketpair head of publishing and communications John Buckley weighed in on the CEO's comments. So hilariously true. When I first joined, I was grilled if I knew games like Slay the Spire. Pocketpair is a company that truly is built by gamers, and our CEO was very adamant to keep it that way. And here's some screenshots for the Pal Farm game that's supposed to be coming out. I don't know if it's out yet or not, but it's very good graphics, interesting world. Launching in open access on Steam and Xbox back in January 2024, Palworld skyrocketed in popularity, selling over 8 million copies in just 6 days and amassing over 25 million players its first month. It wasn't long before Pocketpair teamed up with Sony to launch Palworld Entertainment with the aim of expanding the new IP. Pocketpair is continuing to build upon Palworld's success, as well as updates to the game. It is currently developing Palworld Pal Farm, an upcoming online co-op farming sim set in the same universe. In a surprising announcement last week, it revealed that Palworld is also getting its own physical trading card game, which is set to drop this June, which would be hilarious if it actually did compete with Pokemon, but I don't think it will. At the same time, Palworld is the subject of an ongoing lawsuit between Pocketpair and Nintendo, the Pokemon company. Since the dispute kicked off in September 2024, there have been numerous developments, such as Nintendo rewriting a patent mid-lawsuit, arguing that mods should not count as prior art, and getting their monster capture patent rejected. The case is expected to continue this year, even as Pocketpair works towards the 1.0 release of Palworld. So, what does this really mean in terms of the game? Well, it means that they're trying to hire people specifically based upon their experience on Steam and more or less experience with indie games, because indie games are going to give you more variety and they're going to go against more or less the grain of the industry at the moment. That might not always be the case, and there might be people in the indie sphere that are wanting to make AAA content, so they follow the AAA content guidelines, as it were. And that might be something for occasional games, but for the most part, indie games are very unique in terms of how they operate and their mechanics and everything, because they're wanting to stand out. And in order to stand out, you have to be different, and you can't be different if you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing. Like making a game, say, I don't know, with monsters in a survival open world with guns that lets you do a lot of things. That's unique. That's not normal. Um, you could argue Ark Survival does that with dinosaurs and whatnot, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I have not played Ark Survival yet. I know a lot of people are really hardcore about it. I'm not fond of PvP servers in general. I prefer to play with my friends against the world, essentially. And Palworld itches that pretty nicely. Though Palworld has the option for PvP, I just don't participate in those because it's not my thing. I prefer co-op over PvP. It's just how I've always been. Co-op, well, I mean, co-op implies you have friends. I don't really have many friends. So I just enjoy playing games with people who are around and are willing. That's more or less the case. So uh, that's pretty much it as far as I'm aware for that particular topic. I still find it funny that it's a not a controversial thing, but like, why would you want something on Steam when you have PlayStation or you have Xbox? I don't think it's on Xbox, but why would you want that? It's like, well, it's a bigger platform. It's got way larger fan base for game consumption than PlayStation and Xbox. Though Xbox has a lot of PC integrations, and because of this, it does overlap a lot with computers. And if I remember correctly, they are making the next slash last Xbox is going to be a PC essentially. And with that, they're removing the multiplayer paywall. That's the only reason I would ever consider an Xbox. Like, literally. I grew up as an Xbox fanboy. I loved their stuff. Now their old stuff is dying. My original Xbox died here recently. My Xbox 360 had the Red Ring of Death. It's just been one thing after another. It's not pleasant. It's not fun. It's not exciting, considering that most of my Xbox library is no longer playable until I get a new system, and they're not even new. They're just used, and they can hit that spot at any moment in time. So I'm not looking forward to that. I still have to get original Xbox and a 360, and their Xbox One is not updating, even though it's connected to the internet. A whole bunch of stuff going on. I need to get that stuff to work, but backwards compatibility, Xbox One doesn't do what I want it to do. 360 is probably the best because it had the greatest game lineup, and it had a very large backwards compatibility with their Xbox One. So, no, not Xbox One, the original Xbox. Sorry. So PlayStation's been going up farther on my list, and I still don't have a PS1 through 3. I'd like to, or at least, the very least, get a PS3 that's had backward compatibility with 2 and 1. That would be nice. Those are also bloody expensive. So probably I won't end up getting one unless I just happen to come across one that's affordable. And I don't think that happens because they're extremely rare and highly sought after. So we'll see. Until then, I have a PS4 and a PS5, but everything the PS4 can do, the PS5 can do. So I might as well just play in the PS5, which makes it a little easier. But one of these days, I'd like to see full backwards compatibility from something. But guess what? Computer doesn't have backwards compatibility for problems when they're released on Steam or GOG or anything like that. They just work. And if they don't work, it's usually because the developer had a bug or something, and then they usually jump on that to fix it. Um, Whereas if you play disc, it's a hit or miss on whether or not it does work. So we'll see. But until then, I have GameCube for some of the games I'm playing that I can't do through Xbox because it's the options I have. But why Steam? It's bigger, more indie games. It's more feasible, we'll say. So who knows? Maybe they'll. I don't think PlayStation and Xbox can compete with Steam on the grand scale because computers are more common, easier to come by, and honestly, in the current stage with the world and the RAM crisis and the problems around that, it's more than likely going to be a very costly experience, no matter how you look at it. So hopefully this was informative. I know you could probably find some similar information other places, but thank you for checking out here. I definitely appreciate it, and I appreciate the view, the time, the consideration, everything. And I know it's a bit shorter than my usual content, but that's probably you guys cheering for that kind of stuff. So thanks everybody for hanging out with me, and hopefully my voice will get better so I can do more videos and stuff. And I have a live stream coming up, so when I do the live streams, it's rough. It's rough, guys. So at least for On My Voice, I should say, they're usually really fun. Last one not so, or not the last one. The one before last one was not so much fun. But I definitely appreciate you guys. And check the description below if you'd like to follow me on my socials or join the Discord, anything like that. I got Criticalist, Twitter/X, and Discord. And also, you have a whole bunch of other content creators you can check out to see if their content's up to your liking or something like that. If you like my content, hopefully you'll like their content. If you like their content, hopefully you'll like my content. And also check out the businesses at the bottom of the description that are businesses that support the sphere of the interwebs that we are on. They do not support me directly in any shape or form. I have no sponsors. I make no money. If anything, this costs me money. But I do it because I believe there's something to be said about the current state of pop culture, video games, movies, books, writing, all that kind of stuff. So thanks everybody for sticking around. And remember, my friends, walk in the light.